My name is India Fisher. I'm going to be giving a presentation on David Koresh and the Branch Davidians, a religious group turned cult in the 1990s that led to multiple violent events and the death of nearly 100 people. I first learned about David Koresh through this class, where he was talked about in the context of religious violence. David Koresh, born Vernon Howell, grew up inside the Seventh-day Adventist Church, was exiled from the church at 19 when he impregnated a 15-year-old girl. He found the Branch Davidians, an offshoot from the Seventh-day Adventist Church, after his exile. Koresh quickly rose to power due to his charisma and started claiming that he was the final prophet of God and that he had unique insight into the book of Revelation. He preached that an apocalyptic battle, the Armageddon, was coming and that he and his followers needed to prepare. As a new leader, David Koresh became controlling. All people within the church had to live inside Mount Carmel, a church compound near Waco, Texas. Women were to be sexually available to him at all times, and men were to be celibate. Koresh was accused of having sexual relationships with underage girls and became the father of 15 children within the church. Koresh and his followers eventually started stockpiling firearms in preparation for the end. The ATF became concerned and found illegal weapons inside the compound, so they attempted a raid on February 28th of 1993. A gunfight broke out, 6 Branch Davidians and 4 ATF agents were killed. After this, the FBI started a 51-day siege on Mount Carmel in order to capture Koresh. Koresh forbade anyone from leaving the compound, and after 51 days, the FBI launched a final assault. They filled the compound with tear gas, and a fire eventually broke out inside the compound. The cause of the fire is still debated. 80 people died, including Koresh and many children. The event reflects several key themes from our class. The call to defensive action is prevalent. Koresh calls his followers to defend themselves against the government, FBI, the police, and ATF, whom he believed were forces of the devil. They stockpiled weapons in preparation for Armageddon, where they would have to defend religion against the government. Hence, government mistrust also ties into this idea. There are clear themes of patriarchy within the cult as well. Koresh uses religious authority to suppress women by forcing them to be sexually available to him and raping any women that resist. This also ties into themes of control and suppression. With Koresh's influences has ties to the Oklahoma City bombing. Timothy McVeigh instigated his terrorist attack because he believed that the U.S. government had become an oppressive regime. Part of his justification was a siege in 1993. Both Koresh and McVeigh distrusted the government and used their distrust as justification for violence. This event is unique in the way that the violence wasn't necessarily deliberate. The Branch Davidians didn't plan out a violent performance to deliver a religious message to the public. Most of the damage done was a result of the aftermath of the siege carried out from the U.S. government, and none of the violence was inherently intentional. Most of the deaths were avoidable as well, as one could argue that they were a result of the siege. Typically, religious violence groups don't try to harm their own community, which is kind of what happened here. What does this event teach us? David Koresh's influence highlights the inherent dangers of cults and unchecked power. People in power, if left unchecked, have the tendency to abuse their authority and damage the lives of their followers. This event had significant implications on future acts of terrorism, specifically the Oklahoma City bombing. The siege at Mount Carmel was proof to Timothy McVeigh that the government had become an oppressive regime. It confirmed ideas within the Turner Diaries and influenced him to carry out the Oklahoma City bombing. Overall, this event instilled in religious folks the idea that the government isn't trustworthy. Certain religious groups became distrusting of the government because they thought the Gov was set on suppressing religious practices and that they could be next.